I was 37 years old when I returned home from my third deployment. I served in the U.S. Army for nearly 16 years and thought I'd seen everything: combat, loss, exhaustion, betrayal from so-called brothers in arms. But nothing could have prepared me for what was waiting at home. My name's Travis, born and raised in Kentucky, and I've always been the kind of guy who keeps his circle tight and his loyalty tighter. I met Erin 10 years ago. She was wild in a way that made me feel alive, like I could breathe differently when she was in the room. She had this energy, chaotic, magnetic, dangerous. We met at a bar in Clarksville near Fort Campbell, back when I was just a sergeant trying to figure out if the military was my forever. Erin was a bartender, covered in tattoos and sarcasm, and she didn't fall for the uniform like other women did. That's probably what made me chase her harder. Within a year, we were married. Fast, yeah, but when you're in the military, everything moves fast. Deployments don't wait, and neither did we. She never wanted kids, and I respected that. We got a dog instead, and bought a small fixer-upper outside of Nashville. Erin stayed home a lot, picked up art commissions online. Paintings, designs, whatever she could get. I always trusted her. She had some friends I didn't love, mostly women who were a little too into the party scene, but I didn't question it. I was gone often, and I never wanted to be the controlling husband that checked in every hour. We had a rule: full honesty, no secrets, talk about everything. I believed we had that. I believed her. This last deployment was rough. Hot zones, IEDs, a couple of close calls that left me twitchy at night. By the time I landed in Tennessee, I was just craving quiet. No alarms, no gunfire, just my wife, my dog, and a goddamn couch. When I got home, Erin was different. She still smiled, still kissed me at the door, but there was this shift in her eyes. She was distant but overly cheerful, like she was trying to distract me from noticing something. I chalked it up to nerves. Reintegrating after deployment is hard on both sides. I gave her space. I tried to ease back in, help around the house, cook dinner, listen to her talk about art clients. But there was this tension, like we were walking around something invisible in the middle of the room. One night, maybe 2 weeks after I got back, I noticed a change in her schedule. She started leaving the house in the evening, said she was meeting friends for wine nights. I didn't question it. I should have. But I was exhausted, emotionally numb, and honestly, I was just happy she was laughing again. Then I found the photos. Not by snooping. Our iPad synced to her cloud by accident. I opened it to look up recipes, and there they were. Hundreds of them. Her with 2 other women. Some of the shots were tame, laughing in bed, kissing, posing. Others weren't. It hit me like a mortar to the chest. I scrolled, my hands trembling, seeing image after image of my wife tangled up with these women, in our bed, on our couch, even in the goddamn shower I built for her 2 summers ago. At first, I didn't even feel anger, just shock, numbness, disbelief. I thought, is this cheating? Is this betrayal? She's with women. Does that count? But as the silence of the house closed in and I sat there staring at her naked body twisted with theirs, the answer became deafeningly clear. It wasn't about gender. It was about trust, about lies, about everything I thought we had being a goddamn illusion. I stood there frozen in the doorway of my own bedroom, in full uniform, boots still dusty from Afghanistan, holding a damn bouquet of flowers like some idiot from a romantic comedy, watching my wife, the woman I'd built my life around, on all fours on our bed, laughing breathlessly while 2 women I barely recognized ran their hands over her like they owned her. They didn't see me at first. There was music playing, that pulsing club kind of beat that made everything feel fake and theatrical, and I must have stood there for a full 20 seconds before one of them glanced up and froze. Erin turned her head slowly, her smile still stretched across her face until she saw me, and in that moment something in her eyes just dropped. I don't know if it was shame, panic, or pure shock, probably all 3. I didn't say anything. Couldn't. My throat locked up. My chest was burning. My hands clenched so hard the stems of the flowers snapped.
One of the women, tall, brunette, tattoos on both thighs, reached for a bedsheet and tried to cover herself, but Erin just sat there, naked, silent, staring at me like she'd forgotten how to speak. I turned and walked out. Not because I was calm, because if I had stayed 1 second longer, I would have shattered. I went straight to the garage, slammed the door so hard I heard a picture fall off the wall, and just stood there breathing like a wounded animal. My mind was racing, looping what I saw. Her hands on them, their mouths on her, my bed, my pillows, the camera on the tripod in the corner. Jesus! The tripod. I stormed back inside and grabbed it. The thing was still recording. I ripped the SD card out and shoved the whole camera into the trash, then looked down at the little plastic card in my palm like it was radioactive. Erin came in a minute later, wrapped in my hoodie, of all things. Not even hers. Mine. The one I left behind on purpose so she could feel me when I was gone. I couldn't even look at her. She started to say something. My name, I think, but I held up my hand. Don't, I said. My voice cracked. Just don't. She stood there like a ghost, biting her lip, like she was trying to find the right words to make this seem less insane, like there was some version of this story that wouldn't make me want to throw up, but there wasn't. And then she said, the one thing that made everything worse. I didn't think you'd be home today. That was it. Not, I'm sorry. Not, let me explain. Just that. Like I was the one who screwed up her plans. Like I was the intruder. I laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was unreal. A dark, bitter sound that didn't even sound like me. She started crying then. Big crocodile tears, saying it wasn't what it looked like, that she didn't mean to hurt me, that it just sort of happened, that it started months ago, just after I left, that it was supposed to be exploration, some kind of sexual self-discovery, and she didn't know how to tell me that it was harmless, that it wasn't men, that it wasn't cheating. I lost it. I told her this wasn't a high school sleepover, this was betrayal, lies, deception. How many times had she lain in my arms and told me she missed me while getting railed by two women in our bed? How many times had I FaceTimed her from a dusty tent with mortars going off in the distance while she was filming softcore porn in my house? She didn't answer. She just cried harder. I wanted to scream, break something, hit the wall until my fists bled, but instead I just stared at her and said, "You broke something in me I can't fix."
The next morning I woke up on the guest bed, still in my uniform, boots halfway off, the room dim and cold because I never turned on the heat. My mouth was dry, head pounding, stomach twisted in ways that reminded me of post-deployment anxiety. Only this time it wasn't enemy fire or IEDs. It was Erin, my wife, my home, my reality. I sat there for a while staring at the ceiling, listening to the dead silence in the house. No morning TV, no sound of her brushing her teeth or singing while she made breakfast. Just silence. Then a knock, soft, like she was scared of me now. "Nathan? Can we talk?" she said through the door, voice trembling. I didn't respond. I just closed my eyes and waited for her footsteps to retreat. They did. I got up, took a shower that felt more like a punishment than self-care, then finally sat down at the kitchen table and looked at the SD card again. I don't know why I hadn't smashed it already. Part of me wanted the proof. Another part hated myself for even thinking of watching it. I didn't press play. I just slid it into a drawer and poured myself a cup of black coffee like it was just another day in the Corps. Around noon, I finally walked into the living room. Erin was sitting on the couch, knees pulled to her chest, wearing sweatpants and one of my t-shirts like that meant anything anymore. Her face was puffy. She looked up at me like a dog waiting to be kicked.
Please, can I explain? I didn't sit. I didn't relax. I just stood there with my arms crossed. You've got 5 minutes. She started crying before she even spoke. She said it started small, messages online, flirtation, some kind of validation she claimed she didn't realize she needed. Said she felt lonely, that she'd been bottling it up while I was gone, that she didn't want men because she couldn't face the idea of me finding out. So you thought women made it okay? I snapped. She wiped her nose and nodded like a child. It didn't feel like cheating at first, she said. It was emotional. Then it became physical. And I didn't know how to stop. I asked how long. She didn't want to answer. I pressed her. She said it had been going on for nearly a year, that the 2 women in the bedroom, Jenna and Rachel, had both been coming over regularly, that they'd been filming content for fun and then for money. You monetized it? I said. My voice cracked again. She nodded slowly, ashamed. We made an OnlyFans. It was anonymous. Faces cropped. No one could have known it was me. That was the moment I realized I didn't know who the hell I was married to. This wasn't just a betrayal. It was an operation, coordinated, hidden, monetized. She was living a double life while I was deployed, while I was getting shot at, losing men, watching friends bleed out beside me. She was filming amateur porn in our bedroom for strangers online. I asked if she ever thought about what it would do to me if I found out. She said, I didn't think you'd ever know. I laughed again, dark, humorless. Well, surprise, I said. I know everything now. She broke down completely then, full-body sobs, rocking herself. I love you, she kept repeating. I didn't stop loving you. But it didn't matter anymore. That word, love, felt hollow, poisoned. I told her I was leaving, that I didn't know if it would be for a week or forever, but I couldn't breathe in that house. I packed a duffel, grabbed my keys, and left without looking back. I spent the night at a buddy's place, another Marine who'd been through his own share of shit. He didn't ask questions, just handed me a beer and sat with me in silence. And for the first time in a long time, I cried. Not because of war, not because of pain, but because the woman I loved had turned my home into a stage and my marriage into a lie. I spent the next 4 days sleeping on my buddy Travis's couch, eating takeout, drinking too much, trying to lose myself in anything but my own thoughts. But they were always there, lurking, taunting, rewinding every scene in my head like some sick loop. Every smile Aaron had ever given me now felt rehearsed. Every night we made love, fake. Every call during deployment, a cover. I kept wondering, was she thinking about them while I was talking about my day? Were they there earlier that same day, in our bed, still sweating, still laughing? The longer I stayed away, the more the anger mutated into something worse, a hollowed-out numbness that scared me more than rage ever did. On the 5th day, I opened my phone and saw a message from Aaron. Just one line. I know I don't deserve it, but please come home and talk. I'm not hiding anything anymore. Against my better judgment, I went. I told myself it was for closure, not reconciliation. I parked down the street and sat in the car for 10 minutes, just watching the house like I was back on recon. It looked the same, but I wasn't. When I walked in, she was sitting at the dining table with her laptop open and 2 folders beside it. Her eyes were swollen again, but there was a strange stillness to her this time, like she'd accepted whatever was coming. She pushed the folders toward me. Everything's here, she said quietly. The account, the earnings, the messages, the names, the schedule. I wanted you to see it before you made any decision. I opened the first folder and saw payment statements from sites I didn't even know existed. Thousands of dollars, regular deposits, comments from subscribers, pseudonyms. I flipped through them with shaking hands. The second folder had printed chats, her texts with Jenna and Rachel, plans, roles, outfit ideas, even strategy for keeping me from finding out. It was all methodical. Not some heat-of-the-moment affair, but a premeditated, calculated betrayal wrapped in fake affection. I finally looked up at her. "Why are you showing me this?" She didn't look away. "Because I owe you the truth. All of it. I was living a lie and dragging you through it. You deserve to know how deep it went." I asked her if she ever planned to stop. She said she did, that when I came back home this time, she thought it would be the end of it. But then she hesitated. "Honestly," she said, "I don't know. Part of me liked the control, liked being desired, liked feeling powerful. It wasn't about love. It was about being someone else." That hit harder than anything, because I'd spent years fighting for this country, believing in identity, in loyalty, in integrity, and my own wife couldn't even recognize herself in the mirror. I looked her dead in the eyes. "You could have told me. You could have been honest. You could have asked for more, but you didn't. You chose secrecy. You chose this." She nodded. Silent tears ran down her face. "I know. I hate myself for it." I picked up the folders, tossed them into my duffel bag, and stood up. "I'm not staying," I said. "Not tonight. Not ever. This house isn't home anymore." She didn't stop me. Didn't beg. Just whispered, "I'll sign it whatever you want. I won't fight anything. You deserve peace." I paused at the door, not because I was unsure, but because I finally understood I wasn't walking away from a woman I loved. I was walking away from a stranger who wore her face, and that realization hurt more than anything else ever could.